Welcome to the Pop Go Project podcast, a platform for the discussion and discovery of arts and entertainment. We focus on highlighting people and events that add value to the world around us. Visit us on all social media platforms by searching the Pop Go Project or visit our website at thepopgoproject.com. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for listening. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Are you still cutting your own grass? Are you still trying to get your landscaping to look perfect on your own? That sounds sweaty. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a job for Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Family-owned and operated Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on Kern Street in Exeter near Blue Ribbon Dairy, has the quality and experience to get your yard looking its best. The Garden Center offers plants, trees, sod, mulch, rocks, flowers, topsoil, grass seed, straw bales, and much more, while the Lawn and Landscaping Services offers mowing, trimming, planting, and full landscaping. Visit them on their social media pages for more info. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
That's a nice hat you got there.
You too, buddy.
I wish I had one of those.
It looks good on you. I know it's not the structured hat like you like, but it works.
I like all hats. I just recently kind of got into the structured hat, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was not a fan. I thought they were too high, but I feel like they started making like mid-size structured hats. So that's kind of my go-to now. But this is good. It fits my head. Yeah. So anyone who's just listening, I am speaking with Clay from Back Mountain Brewing Company, and he has the same hat on that I do, or I should say that I have the same hat on that you do. They are your hats.
Well, we also had a really good company design that awesome logo for us. So
yeah, and that shirt is fantastic too.
Like that.
Not sure where you,
place. Imagine that.
Not sure where you got that from. But dude, thanks for doing this. Welcome to the award-winning podcast.
I saw that.
How about it? Someone must feel bad for me. But I wanted to talk to you, I mean, even before we started doing what we're doing, and that is brewing a beer called Pop Goes Porter. We started brewing that, September 24th, I think it was, or 26th, one of the two.
Yep.
And we are going to donate the proceeds from that beer to the Lake Lehman Junior and Senior High Music Program. And Lake Lehman has a fond place in our hearts because we both went to Lehman. How about that?
Absolutely.
So we'll get into that. But I mean, we have kind of a deep history that we didn't even know about.
What's that?
We went to high school together.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, you were, 2 years behind me?
I was 2 years behind you, yes.
Yeah, so you were with my sister in school.
I was in the same class as your sister.
Yep.
But I feel like I would love to see a picture of you from back then. Do you have any of those?
Do we have one? we might have one by the end of this.
All right. Well, because I feel like now that we've worked together. I know you now. We found out that we went to the same high school. I found out that you were Kara's brother. I'm like, I think I can remember seeing you now in my head back then.
I don't remember. I remember the name, and that was when I met you up at Axelrad. I was like Popco, and that's why I was like, oh crap, I know that name. But then you said you recognized my last name, and you were like, oh, are you Kara? Are you related to Kara? And then it clicked. I'm sure I do, man. It's so long ago, and
it's a long time ago, dude. I mean, I feel like that was all a dream.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But I feel like we both we've come a long way since our years at Lake Lehman, and I guess that's what kind of brings us to today. But I said earlier, you are the owner and brewer at Back Mountain Brewing Company, which is located in Dallas, Pennsylvania. And I want to kind of find out how you got to that point. How did you start, or how did you go from, growing up in the Lehman area, going to high school in Lehman to, where you are currently? And we'll talk about the future of Back Mountain Brewing Company. But you've done a lot in between high school and where you're at now. So talk to me a little bit about who Clay is, and we'll get to where we are now.
So I'll leave out a lot of the details, but I wasn't the best kid in high school, and I got a little bit of trouble here and there.
What kind of trouble? Come on.
What kind of trouble? Oh my gosh, let's see. I was on probation, got arrested for possession and paraphernalia my senior year. That was really like the nail in the coffin for me. My dad knew my recruiter and also knew the chief of police, who happened to be my bus driver at the time, small town kind of thing. And the three of them pretty much conspired, and I got an ultimatum. It was more or less like, look, you're not going anywhere, so join the Army or you're looking at jail time and a fine and all this other stuff. And I was like, you know what? All right, I'm out. And August of 99, we graduated in June of 99. In August of 99, I was on an airplane headed down to Fort Benning, Georgia to basic training. That's pretty much.
So was school just not like of interest to you?
Oh, no, I was really good in school. It's just starting like, I want to say probably my sophomore year, I started hanging out, with the wrong crowd. I mean, we weren't doing anything wrong. We weren't like hurting anybody or anything. It was just,
Right.
We were partying, doing high school things.
Yeah, high school stuff. Yeah.
And, I kind of took it to the extreme and, got it all out of my system back then, I guess. No, we were just being kids. And I was one of the unlucky ones that got in trouble and got caught and yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. A learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
Learning
absolutely.
lesson. So you said the Army?
Yeah. Yep. Went to the Army.
In 99, huh? And how long did you serve for?
20 years. So I retired in 2019.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Right?
It was one of those things like I joined, I was like, I'm going to get the college money. I'll do 4 years. I'll get out. I'll use the money, go to college, and then, continue my life. But didn't work out that way. Just kind of right when the Iraq invasion happened, I happened to be in Fort Benning with 3rd ID at the time, and that was the unit that spearheaded that whole invasion. And I was remember the stop loss thing. They had the movie and everything, stop loss. I was one of the first guys like in this generation to get stop loss. Like my unit got stop loss. Like I was supposed to get out, and they were like, "No, you're not going anywhere. You're going to go to war." And they stop lost there. We had guys in my unit that had all their stuff turned in, and they were like days from getting out. And they were like, "No, go get it reissued. Like we're going overseas." And we went over and did the invasion. I came back, and they offered me a promotion and a new duty assignment up in Alaska. And I was like, yeah, I signed up and re-enlisted and pretty much just kept going from there.
What year was that?
Would have been 2000. We were married 2002, 2003, 2004. We got back, and that's when I re-enlisted and headed up to Alaska.
Now, why did you? I mean, obviously, you said a promotion, but what intrigued you to re-enlist when you could have been out?
I don't know. I was kind of liking it. I was liking the camaraderie. Just it was a neat experience. I was going from these, what I can put as a lower enlisted guy to I was going up to like the first step on the rung of leadership, and they were like, you're going to be a sergeant now. So I was going to have my own guys under me, and it was a new thing for me. I'd never been in a position like that. And when they offered me that and I took it, and then they said, well, you got to re-enlist, you got to meet time in service to take that rank. And I was like, okay. So they said, hey, we can send you to Alaska. I mean, I grew up in Northeast PA, my first duty station was Germany, which was awesome. I spent, 2.5 years over there and went down to Benning, but I'd never really been anywhere else. And Alaska just seemed, at the time, I was like, man, that's cool. Like, yeah, just married. Like, hey, let's move to Alaska. Like, it'll be great. It'll be a good time. And honestly, I had a blast up there.
And how long was that for?
Oh, we got up there like 2004. I think I came back in 2007. I extended the stay up there, but that kind of got cut short. Um, but yeah, we got up there 2000, probably 2004, beginning of 2004, and I don't think we left till 2007. So we were up there for 3 years,
Okay.
a little over 3 years.
And were you done at that point?
No,
No,
no. What's that?
You still had some more years, right?
Oh yeah, I was basically we deployed again over there, and ended up being like 18 months. We were over there for 18 months, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this 18-month stuff. We were just married. We didn't have kids or anything yet, but being away that long, so I started looking around for like other things to do in the military. I looked at reclass and changing my job around, and opportunity presented itself. Actually had a recruiter email me from the Army Special Forces, and I was like, oh, that seems like a cool idea. Like, let's try that out. So made it back to Alaska. We were back there for a couple months. I put in all my paperwork, did all the tests, everything they needed, the pre-selection process. And I went down to Fort Bragg, did the Special Forces selection, and then fortunately got selected, came back to my unit with papers that said, basically, you can't touch me. Bragg has me now, and I'm heading back to, I had to go to airborne school first, and then I was headed to Bragg to do the qualification course for U.S. Army Special Forces.
Okay. And then you keep saying you just got married. Like what was that like? I mean, you always hear stories about, being married in the military and kind of, obviously your partner understands when they marry in the military and in the Army and things like that. Like, they know what they're signing up for, but I mean, that still had to be pretty difficult.
Well, Charity, and probably should have stayed at the beginning. Charity's also Lake Lehman graduated in with me.
High school sweethearts? What was
high school sweethearts, man?
Oh man, wow.
We were together, sophomore year, off and on all the way through. Joined the military, off and on a little bit. And then I guess it was when I was in Germany, she came over to visit, and that's when I proposed over there. And came home, got married in 2002, got stationed at Benning, and then right back to where we went over to Iraq, and then the rest is history after that. I think it was, we weren't, like, you hear a lot of the horror stories in the military, and it's young guys that they leave home for the first time, they get to a duty station, they meet a girl that's from the local area, and they fall in love or whatever, and they've been together 6 months, they get married, and then 2 or 3 years later, she's cheating or he's cheating, and it's just the way the Army works. I've seen it a bunch of times. I've seen it with guys under me, I've seen it with guys over me. It's a stigma that's attached to the military, and honestly, I just think if people would actually have a foundation in a relationship, that stuff wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's a stigma. Well, I guess it's a stigma, but it's just like, I think it's a human being issue, is not a military issue. It's just like you're saying, it happens. You get married because maybe you do it right before you leave because you don't know if you'll come back, God forbid, and shit like that. You want to make sure that you do that before that happens. But so what you're saying to me though is she was putting up with your shit far before the Army.
Far before we joined the Army. Honestly, like, a lot of the stuff I did, I couldn't do it without her support. Like, I mean, even going through selection and everything, she always had my back, and no matter what I wanted to do, I mean, there was arguments and stuff, as there would be with anything. She worries, like, you're going from doing this job to this job, and this job's more dangerous, and blah blah blah. And honestly, like, regardless of the fights or everything, she's always been there. She supported me through the whole thing, all the way through the entire career. Right up, we had our kid. I mean, we had the kid, and I was gone, just constantly going. And she ran everything on the home front. You know what I mean? Like, just always stepped up, always did, pretty much everything she could do to make everything as stable as it could be.
They're good at that.
Oh yeah.
we wouldn't be around if it weren't for them.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't tell them that, but yeah, I mean, it's true. Luckily, my wife won't listen to this, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's important to have a good partner, especially when you're, enlisted and traveling and doing risky shit. It's good to have that foundation, that anchor back home that kind of holds everything down, and
just make sure, like, when you're gone, you don't want to worry about anything. It's good to have that other half back home that you know is doing the right thing.
Right.
It makes it 100% easier to do what you got to do.
Right. So you serve your time.
Yes.
What kind of was the defining point to say, all right, I'm done doing this?
Well, I got hurt, which happens to most guys, like jumping out of planes, the body armor, whatever it is, it's going to be your knees, it's going to be your back, it's going to be your neck, it's going to be your shoulders. Something's going to go. And for me, it was my back. We were over in Thailand in between deployments, and I was already having issues with my back, and it kind of sucked because I was only in my late 20s, and it was kind of like in the prime, you know what I mean? Like everything was great. I felt great. I was in great shape, and my back started I started having issues with my leg, and it ended up being my back. So I was doing physical therapy. I was getting shots in my spine, the steroid shots to cut down the inflammation and everything. And that was kind of helping it. But we were over in Thailand doing some training with the Thais, and we were doing, we're doing medical training. And one of the Thais had made a comment about buddy carrying. So if a guy gets wounded in combat, you pick him up, throw him on your shoulder, and you carry him. And he was saying, well, what if the guy's bigger than me? Well, we had a big boy on my team. He was a bigger guy, is one of my medics. And I was like, oh, watch this. And I was like, and I knew I could pick him up. My back didn't know I could pick him up though. And I picked him up, and next thing I know, I was laid up probably about a week and a half in Thailand. I couldn't get up off my stomach. Everything, just my whole leg was shot. And they ended up having to, I wouldn't say it was a medevac, but they ended up getting me a flight back early. And about a month later, I went into surgery. Back actually worked after that. My leg worked, everything. Did my next deployment to Afghanistan, came back. Everything was kind of working good. And then it just kind of started falling apart again. I started having issues down in my lower leg. We ended up finding it was nerve damage. Long story short, I couldn't jump anymore. I couldn't be airborne. The Army wanted to med board me. I went down, fought with my unit. I was like, look, I got 4 or 5 years left to retirement. I was like, just let me instruct or whatever. Fortunately, I had a sniper qualification, so I got to go and run the unit run sniper course. So I did that for 4 years, and then I did admin for a year. And after that, I mean, once you're not down doing the stuff you want to do, like, that's it. Like, it's time to say, I could have done, 25. I know buddies that do 25, 26, 30 years. But after that, it's like, if you can't do what you want to do, like, what's the point of sticking around? So it was like 20 years. I'm like, I'm not doing the admin stuff anymore. I'm not, pushing papers and stuff. So it was time to get out. Had a good run.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot of guys that have served. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I know a lot of people have served. Like, this area that we live in, I feel like, a lot of people dedicate their lives to, keeping our country safe, and I'm so thankful for that. And thank you for your service. It's something that I know that I probably couldn't do unless I had to. I don't do well with people telling me what to do. I'm surprised I'm still married because I don't like being told to do. Not that she bosses me around, but you understand.
No, I got you.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, you did it for 20 years, and you saw a lot of shit in those 20 years. And you hear stories about people, post service, and being able to be a civilian again. Like, mm-hmm. Have you been able to transition easily?
Yeah, that was the cool thing about the Green Berets, is like, it's not, you kind of lose some of that structure that you have with the big Army. Like, in the big Army, it's like you're talking to somebody that outranks you. You're standing a certain way, you address them a certain way, and when you get selected and you go through the course and you finally get on a team, and you can talk to your team sergeant by his first name, a guy that outranks you by two ranks, 3 ranks for some guys, and you're calling your team leader, captain, by his first name. Like, you kind of lose that military structure, and it just becomes like, it's like a job. You know what I mean? And I think that's what really helped, is the fact that I got to do that for 11 years. I didn't come right from, dress right dress, regular Army. I came out, and honestly, as I was retiring, I had some of the best leadership I ever had. I had, my company commander, my company sergeant major. Like when I said, "Hey, I want to go to school. Um, can I get, instead of 6 months, can I get a year to start school?" And they were like, "Absolutely." You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You're not going to get that in the big Army. You're not going to get guys that are like, "Yeah, absolutely, we're going to do everything we can to take care of you." Like, you did your time. You're not a shitbag. Like I did what they asked me to do, and I did it the best I could, and they recognized that. So when it was time for me to retire, they gave me a little bit more leeway. So as I was transitioning, I was still active duty, but I was full-time college student, and that also helped a lot too, because it's kind of a little bit of culture shock going back to school. The program I was in, maybe two or three other guys my age, and they were all military, and the rest of them were younger people in their 20s, and it was kind of, I think it helped a lot with the transition, was just getting that initial shock of school, and you go into it like, okay, don't be don't be that guy, don't be that veteran. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of chill out and just, kind of meld into it. And that's what I did, and it really helped with the transition over to civilian life. Like, I was ready. I take a lot of what I learned in the Army and I use it to this day, but I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be out there wearing my, veterans hat and everything else. Like, I don't want the attention. And it's all, I'm a civilian. I did it. It's in the past. It was cool. I had a great time. I learned a lot, but this is who I am now.
Yeah. I just, it's also crazy to me. Like, I can't imagine what the whole process is like. I can't.
It's everything's, you're always learning. You're always learning. You're always adapting to different situations. Like, if you can't adapt, that's where the problems start. You know what I mean? Like, when you can't like integrate into a different situation, and you're constantly stuck in the past. I think that's where, and I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, but I think that's where a lot of guys run into problems, is they just can't, accept the fact, like, hey, it's over, man. Like, that was it. Like, that was your run. Like, now it's time to do something else. And that's where, a lot of guys, a lot of my friends, they get out, they'll contract, and there's good money in that. And I don't knock them for it. I think it's great that you can do that. You're still around it. They're still around that culture. A lot of guys will get out and they go work for, private companies, private security, stuff like that, or they get out and they do marksmanship training, because what do? We shoot guns. Like, they know that, it's comfortable for them. To me, I was like, that was one part of my life, and now it was time. Like, it was good, and I enjoyed every minute of it, but now it's time to go and do something else.
Yeah.
And to kind of detach from it.
Yeah. Well, imagine, like, it's such an important time of your life. A lot of kids, they start when they're 18, right? And it's like especially those like first, 5, 10, 15 years, like, you're talking being 25, 30, 35 years old. Like, those are, like, you mentioned before, like, prime years. Like, you become an adult. Like, your brain fully develops at 25, right? So it's like, I can imagine that's why a lot of people, they can't learn to, kind of close it off, because that's all they've known for their, early adulthood, and it's probably hard to kind of separate.
Yeah. Well, and it's not all great. You know what I mean? Regular Army stuff sucks. Like, I hated it when I was younger. Like, I hated the fact that I had some guy who I was probably smarter than telling me what to do, telling me how I was going to, cut my hair, shave your face. You can't do this. You can't do that. You got to wear this at this time and be at this place. And it was rough, for a while, but you get used to it. You kind of fall into it. And like I said, when I switched over to the new job, it kind of took all that away. And I kind of got to enjoy the military for what it was, like boys being boys. It was basically like, you were men, and you said, like, if you had an issue with somebody, regardless of what their rank was, you could address it. And there was no chance that you're going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? As long as you weren't out of control and, like,
right.
But that helped a lot too, I think.
Yeah. I guess I could never be told what to do. And you mentioned, like, how to cut your hair and shave your face. I almost quit a job at one point, because I got a new director of sales when I was in radio back in like 2005, 14, I guess it was. And he came in thinking he had a big swinging dick, and he's like, everyone's gonna getting put on a 90-day probation period to see if like you're gonna fit, my leadership. And I had been in the media business already at that point for almost 10, 11 years. And I had this shithead who like was a drunk. I knew him in a previous life, and I don't think he remembered meeting me because he was either drunk or some kind of all the altered mental state. But and it came in, and he's like, every sales guy, he was like, we're gonna performance plan and make sure you're gonna be part of my team and blah blah blah. And he like tried bringing like the handbook into the conversation, and he's like, 'cause I had a beard, right? And I mean, my beard's not out of control. It's it's not, I guess, like trimmed close to the face. So he tried to like bring this, and he goes, we have an issue, and we need you to consider, kind of trimming that up. And I said, okay, it was a Friday, so I said, all right, I'll take the weekend to think about it. And this was like post weekender days, and again, I was in radio. I was selling, I was in sales for Rock 107. It's a classic rock station. I was selling Alt 92, or at the time it was Fuzz, which is an alternative station. Like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not meeting with doctors or lawyers and things like that. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And I went the weekend. I was actually in AC that weekend, and I was like gonna go to work and start like a campaign saying like save Popko's beard. And I was gonna swear to God, I was gonna raise money. I was talking to my wife, like, I'm gonna boycott this. I'm gonna raise a ton of fucking money. I'm gonna donate it to a good cause in spite of this motherfucker. And I went to work that next Monday, and he said, well, what's your decision? And I'm like, I don't think I may have like, I think I may have like just like formed it better, but I didn't cut the length off. I said, no, I did. I took care of it. And I don't think he liked that too much, but it was funny because he brought the handbook into the whole scenario. And I'm like, it's a guy that works on the third floor who has a beard down to his stomach. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to play games, like we'll do that. That's fine. But he ended up getting fired a month later because he came to work drunk. But
sounds like a great leader.
Well, yeah, that's a story for a different day. But I mean, that's like point of the story is like I don't think I could have been told what to do. Like, I mean, that's that kind of shit that I was like, I had a guy told me to trim my beard up, and I was like, no, if you're getting yelled at, like, hardcore, it's just something I couldn't do. So again, thank you, and thank you to everyone who has served and put their time in and protected our country and got yelled at, so that I didn't have to.
Yeah, getting yelled at's a big part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also done a lot of great things. I mean, that it gives people structure. It gives people, a lot of people need that. So it's not all bad. But you mentioned adapting.
Yeah.
And I think that could, lead us into the next part of your life, because you've adapted to civilian life, and you now own a brewery called Back Mountain Brewing Company. It's in Dallas, Pennsylvania. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, like, you opened a brewery in the middle of a pandemic. Was it 2020 or 21?
Yeah. 2021. Yep, 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm looking over at my lovely wife just to confirm. Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. So middle of a pandemic, because it's kind of, I guess it's over now, but probably the height of it almost, right?
Yeah. It was. We moved home in 2020, the year prior, and we were working on acquiring the house we're living in now. It's my wife's old family home, and
very nice. I like the wood.
Oh, thanks. The knotty pine.
Knotty pine, love it.
Thank you. So we were working on acquiring that. It needed a lot of work. We used a VA loan. I won't get into details, but there's certain standards the house needs to be on before you can get your VA loan. So we had a couple months of work to do for that, and we ended up closing on the house in January of 2021. And then I went immediately into brewery mode and started searching for financing, tried SBA, but being that we were in the midst of the pandemic, they were like, breweries are high risk. Like, no, can't get it. And we fortunately found a local lender that was actually ended up being better than the SBA that financed us to get our feet in the door.
Okay, well, before we even get to that, like, you didn't just, wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to be a brewer today.
I'm gonna make beer.
I mean, I used to homebrew myself, and you could do that. You could wake up that day and say, yeah, I'm going to try this now. But I mean, to be an official brewer and, own a business, like, you don't just wake up and do that. So what did that look like leading up to the actual purchase of the building?
So I think it was probably my last deployment. We were in Afghanistan, and my dog handler that was on my team, the canine guy, was sitting there and he was ordering a bunch of stuff off the internet. And I was sitting next to him on the other computer, and I was like, "What, like, dude, what are you buying? Like, what is that stuff?" And he's like, "Oh, I make beer at home." He's like, "I'm upgrading my homebrew system." I was like, "Cool, like, make beer at home." And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "When we get back," he's like, "I'll totally show you." He's like, I'll take you down to the homebrew." I didn't even know there was like homebrew stores. I didn't know any of this. Like, this is all new to me. I was drinking Jameson or whatever IPA had the most alcohol in it. Like, that's what beer was to me. Like, yeah, IPA 7.8%. Let's do it. So he got home. He took me to the homebrew store, and that was pretty much what kicked it off. I bought a book. I bought a simple, like, just the dirtiest, like, extract brewing system you could buy. And I made a batch of beer in my garage, and I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I've always liked cooking. Like, I always enjoyed, getting my grandmother's and my mom's recipes and like doing and to this day, I still do it. Like, on my day off that I get a week is usually like my cooking day. Like, it's exciting for me. Like, I'm going to do something that takes me 4 hours, 5 hours to cook. I enjoy doing that. And I think the brewing thing, it intrigued me because I was like, oh, it's kind of like cooking, only, I can drink this and get drunk afterwards, like it was neat. And it just kind of, like, it became my hobby. Like, a lot of guys want to go out and then, we were still hiking and we were still enjoying the outdoors and everything that's in Washington. But at the same time, I didn't really have a hobby. I've never been into sports. I've never been a big, I played sports in high school, but I just kind of fell off. Like, I've never been a sports guy. I'm a gamer. I love gaming. I was a big PC gamer for a long time until we opened the brewery, but don't have time for that anymore. But I never really had like a hobby, and I just kind of took to brewing. Like, it was fun for me. And then I was like, oh, you can compete. So then I was like, well, you got to have good beer if you can compete. So I started digging into it more, and honestly, like, I didn't have anybody teach me. Everything I learned from the first book I got, YouTube videos, reading blogs, reading forums, stuff like that. And then you just it progressed from there. And that was 2012, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there I started. And it probably didn't really kick off until, say, 2017, I think, when I bought like a true home brewing system, like a prefab, top of the line. I sold my Harley Davidson to get the thing. Long story short, I got hit at a stop sign from behind. Dude broke my foot. I was in a boot for the entire summer, and I got back on the bike after that, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to ride anymore. Like, it wasn't fun for me. And I was like, you know what? I took the bike up to Harley. I was like, what do you give me for it? The thing was almost paid off. They gave me pretty much enough to buy that homebrew system, and that's what I did. And then I started competing really heavily at that point. Like, I wanted to make. I was really hard on myself. I wanted my beers to taste like the beers I was buying in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked really hard at that, and it was just kind of a natural progression from there. And then as I was getting ready to retire, we didn't know what I was going to do. We didn't know if we were going to stay in Washington. We didn't know if we were going to move back to PA. I was looking at game warden up in Maine. I was looking at game wardens here in PA. I was looking at all sorts of different jobs that I was going to do. And my buddy came into work one day, and he had a local magazine, and he threw it down. He's like, hey, they're starting a brewing program down at South Puget Sound. And I was like, wow, like, okay. And then I was like, yeah, that'll never work. Like opening a brewery, like you can't open a brewery. Like it's just that's like a pipe dream. You know what I mean? Like home brewers don't open breweries, you know. You just sit in your garage and make beer and talk shit about everybody else's beer, you know. Like that was my mindset. And as I got closer, I was like, you know what? I'll apply to the program. And there was only, I don't remember what it was. There's only a handful of slots, like 35 slots or something. And they basically did, I guess it would be like an order of merit list. Like if you already had English and math done, you were already pushed to the top. So I was doing online school through the military. They were paying for it. It wasn't even out of my GI Bill or anything. And I rushed to get, I think it was math. I rushed to get the math done, and I got it done. I got my transcripts and I sent it into the program, and it put me to the top of the list. Needless to say, I got accepted to the program. And then that's where, like I said earlier, I had ended up talking to my command, and I was like, hey, like this program's starting. I know I can get 6 months. Can you guys give me 12 months so I can start this program when it kicks off? And it was like the stars aligned and it just worked out perfect. They signed off on everything, and I started the program right when it started. And that's really kind of where I would say, like home brewing, like you know a lot. Like I knew a lot. I thought I knew a lot. That program filled in all the gaps that I didn't have. You know, you get to meet these guys that have been brewing for 12, some of them 30 years, and you get to talk to them. And the whole program was you go from like our weekends were spent at breweries, just going around, and where a lot of the students are like ogling the equipment and everything. I was talking to the brewers, I was talking to the owners, and I still to this day I have this huge Word document in my computer, of notes I would take everywhere I went, like what works, what doesn't work, like what are you guys doing that's special, and just everything. I tried to pick up everything I could pick up, because at this point I figure I'm going to get this degree in applied science for craft brewing. Like I was almost all in at that point. It's like, what else am I going to do? You know, I'm going to spend a year. I'm out of the military now. I've got another year of school left. Like, what am I going to do? So it was kind of like you're all in. So you just you go all in and you just kind of figure it out, you know?
Yeah. So what does school look like? I mean, outside of visiting.
So, yeah. So we didn't just visit breweries. It was a neat program. It wasn't just like, hey, this is how you brew. It was, this is how you brew. This is the science behind it. This is, we did everything from chemistry, which was terrible for me because I hadn't done math in 20 plus years. And there's a lot of math and chemistry. That was probably the hardest for me. We did, microbiology. We did a lot of labs, because brewing is science, believe it or not. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. Like,
it's amazing. It's amazing. If you told me in high school, like, hey, Johnny, pay attention in chemistry and science classes because one day you could brew your own beer, I would have been like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm going to pay attention now.
Right.
But back then I was like, that wasn't even an option.
Yeah. And I was stoked. Like I knew all like the base stuff, but I wanted to get smarter. And it kind of crushed me when I did the chemistry and I did the microbiology, because you realize just how much you don't know. And that was really kind of like, that was the wake up call for me. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And to this day, I'll tell anybody that comes into the brewery, like, you want to learn to brew, like, I'll talk all day about brewing, but I'm not a chemist. I'm not a microbiologist. I know how the shit works, but I'm going to tell you in the simplest, dumbest way, because that's how I can articulate it. I'm not going to sit up here, you know what I mean, and talk chemistry to you, because it's not me. But I picked what I needed from it. And there's a lot, it's with anything you learn, like anything you go to school for, there's stuff in there that you can just throw out, and that whole program, I picked everything that I needed, from it. And, I think one of the big ones was I needed an internship. It was either an internship or like 2 other classes. And I was like, well, I'll get an internship. And there was a brewery right across from the base, and it was run by another veteran. And I was fortunate enough to get in there, and I picked his brain, man. Like, everything. And he was running it. He'd only been open, I think, 2 years at the time. And it was a great learning experience. And I was fortunate because I was responsible, and after a couple of weeks, he just kind of turned me loose. He was like, here, like, brew. You know what I mean? Like, the system, you know how everything works. He was like, just brew. And he would give me the recipes and I would just brew. And I loved it. I loved going in there. I loved just working on the system. I loved the mechanical side of it, everything about that. And that's really what opened my eyes. And that's kind of where it clicked. I was like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I can, it's not a pipe dream. Like, I can actually make this happen. I just have to be smart about it. I can't, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. Like, take it slow. Look at what's going on. Look at your demographic. Look at where you're going. And even at that point, we didn't know if we were staying in Washington. I had a plan to stay there with two other guys, former Green Berets, and open our own brewery. But where we were living in Washington, like, there were, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 breweries within 15, 20-minute driving range. Like, they were all over. Like, you could throw a rock and hit a brewery. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what, man, like, let's go home. Like, let's go home and open a brewery in the back mountain. And that's pretty much what led us here.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, that was, we had decided to move home, and then the pandemic hit. And then that really screwed school up a lot. I mean, God bless the program director. He was amazing. The guy did everything he could do. And on another note, I'll just give him a shout out. Frank, if you ever watch this podcast, you're amazing, dude. He was, honestly, man, that guy, I could go to him with anything. And he would, if he didn't know the answer, he would find it for me. And that dude taught me so much. So I will say, Frank, good job. But yeah, we were already planning on moving home, and then the pandemic hit, and that just everything just kind of went to shit after that. Like, it was kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, the whole world shut down, and I mean, we're still recovering, obviously. I won't get into the politics and the unfortunate situation we're in with inflation. I'm sure every day you're experiencing what that's like with your cost of goods and all that kind of stuff. But
oh yeah,
and then so you're in the back mountain. So, like, if anyone is watching or listening to this and is familiar with the back mountain, the building that you're in used to be the Twin Stacks. It was also Metro Bar and Grill.
Some Irish bar
for like a day.
Yeah.
I was like shocked. I was shocked, and they opened that up, and I think it was gone like 3 months later. So you're in a spot, right? So it's like, I think it was also like, I feel like they moved to Carverton Road in Trucksville, some kind of kava, like a kava corner vape shop type thing.
Yeah, they had the spot. 2 people before they had it, and then a glass company had the spot, and then we got the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that location. I mean, I went there. We had our post ring ceremony, like luncheon there back in high school. Like, I always loved the that building. My brother used to work at Metro, so I loved it. I mean, the visually it's very appealing. And I think what you're using it for, like, it's just perfect. It has, like, I keep screwing this up. We talk about the mechanical stuff, the boilers and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a really cool place. But what I'm getting at is it's almost like the building is cursed.
I'm looking at Charity. Charity's just like, we know. We've heard it all, man. We've heard.
You guys are here to break the curse, okay? That's what you're doing, okay? We're gonna break the curse. I mean, the Red Sox broke the curse of Babe Ruth, 2004. It can be done, and I feel like it could be you. In fact, I know it's going to be you. So, but I mean, like, talk about that. I mean, obviously, you knew the history. You grew up in the back mountain, like. Why that place? Why?
So we were home. We came home. Was it a year prior? Way before that, I don't know. But anyway, we were driving. We were home on leave. We were home visiting. It was the summer in between. Like, it was the summer I retired, and then I had to go back to Washington to finish school. And we were just kind of like driving around, looking, at places like what's available. Like, is this even possible? Like, can we do this? and we saw the Twin Stacks was there. So we went up, just had a look at it, and I thought, you know what, this like looks really cool. Like this could be a small brewery. I'll touch more on the small side and why we went the size we did, but the whole idea was to keep it small and keep it manageable to where me and my wife could basically run it. So we looked at the spot, went back to Washington, we talked and talked and talked. We came back home and started like seriously looking at this point, and we were looking at what was available. We knew we wanted to be I don't know how far your viewers are, but we always say, you know, through the rock cut, in the back mountain, like Dallas, you know, somewhere Dallas, Lehman, somewhere out in that area. You know, we wanted to be in the back mountain. And honestly, like what was available out of everything we looked at, that was the most economical for one, which blew my mind. And two, it seemed to fit it. And we sat in there, and it looks nothing like it did when we got the spot. Like I took pictures, before I started doing anything in there, any of the like knocking down walls and tearing up tile and all that stuff. And I sat there and I was just like, okay, this can go here. This can go here. I didn't have measurements or anything. I was just like, yeah, this looks like it'll fit. And I was like, yeah, well, let's make it happen. I mean, obviously not everything went to plan, but it went according to exactly what I had envisioned for it, like how we had everything set up. Granted, we don't have as much space as I thought we would have. We're certainly outgrowing the space rapidly. We had one of the guys that does maintenance around the whole Twin Stack Center come in, and he's like, wow, you guys are really outgrowing the space quickly. And I was like, yeah, man. And that was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, like we're really, like we need more space already. But it's good that we're where we're at. And we started as small as we did, so we didn't have issues with like overhead and,
Right.
like I said before, like biting off more than you can chew. And that's why that spot is just, it works perfect for us. There's enough room, we can have the bands, we can have events and stuff in there. We got the little patio outside. I mean, it's not great. It's not like when you go down to Trogs or something, but it works. It works for our area. And people are really kind of taken to that, the whole hometown, like this is your brewery. And we've always presented it as that, like, this is your brewery. Like, this is for you guys. Like, this is the Back Mountain Brewery. This is for the people in the area. And we've got a pretty good following of regulars, like just people in the area that come there and drink. So,
I mean, for the record, Trogs didn't become Trogs overnight.
Oh, no. I just used an example.
I know. I know. Yeah, it's wild. They're still adding on. I think they added a huge parking lot and all that kind of stuff. That's an amazing facility down there in Hershey. But yeah, so in the Back Mountain, it's a great spot. Talk a little bit about what you do on site.
Well, we make everything on site. Everything that's on tap. We have 7 beers on tap. We have 1 seltzer. I started making seltzer probably right before summer kicked off, just because I couldn't keep up with the beer to have 8 beers on tap. We did have a cider on tap for a while from Brace's Orchard out in Orange, which is not far from us. We switched to bottles at this point because we've kind of gotten into a flow now, and I can kind of move beer a little quicker. Like it kind of works out now. I pulled the cider off, so we do have 7 beers, 1 seltzer on tap. We do pretty much everything on site. We make pickle shots with vodka. That we get the vodka and our whiskey from Stolen Wolf down in Lidditz, PA, which is, I guess, down by Lancaster. They ship to us. I don't go down and pick it up, obviously. We serve local wine, local food. We don't have a kitchen. That was one thing I didn't want to dive into. I didn't want to deal with employees because honestly, like right now, with just her and I running it and the assistant brewer that I have, like we're already stretched thin. And to hire somebody else on and have a kitchen, and I know that was a huge turnoff in this area because people, they want their restaurants. And when we were opening, we got a lot of emails and a lot of messages on Facebook, like, what kind of food are you going to have? What's your menu? Like, they were more interested in what kind of food we were going to have than what kind of beer we were going to make. And that was kind of a punch in the gut for me. Like I realized, like, we have 2 friends that own restaurants within 3 minutes of me. And I get how the area is. Like people they want to come in like, they don't care if you make the beer or not. They just want to eat the food, and then you've got some beer on tap. They want an IPA. You know what I mean? Like I kind of wanted to break that cycle in the area, because back west where we were, there were breweries like doing what I'm doing with the food trucks and everything else, and it worked, and like it worked really well. And like I won't say we fought with the borough. We didn't fight with the borough. I worked with the borough for months and months and months just to get an ordinance so I could have food trucks in there, and because nobody's doing it in this area. Yeah, you go out to Wilkes-Barre, Scranton and stuff. Yeah, they have the food trucks at the breweries, cideries, and wineries, but nobody was doing it here. And I kind of wanted to bring that to the back mountain. And so far it seems to be working. Like people, oh, what food truck do you have this weekend? Just because we don't have a kitchen doesn't mean,
Right.
that we're not making good beer. And that's, I don't know. To me, like, when I go out to a brewery, I'm there for the beer. I don't care if they have food or not. If they have hot pretzels, I'm good.
Yeah.
If they have beer, even better. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think one of your signs on the door says, there is no food, or BYO,
BYOF.
BYOF, yeah, because like you focus on the beer, which is one thing that I always hated about some restaurants was they tried to cater to everyone. Like I love a restaurant that has a very small menu. I'm a big, big on like quality over quantity. Like if you have a menu you can nail every time, and it's kick ass every time. Like I'd rather have 5 items to choose from than 50.
Yeah.
There was a restaurant. It was located at the Edwardsville Shopping Center. I think it was called like 5-Star Cuisine, and they wanted to have a menu that had 5 different like cuisines, like American, Italian, Japanese. Like they have 5 different like. And I'm like, how do you even maintain like inventory on some of this stuff? Like that's, I mean, how much of this is frozen? How much is food is going bad? Like that's not.
And who's your chef that's making these 5-star meals from 5 different cuisines? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so what I'm saying is I love the idea of just like being good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
And then also like you're doing these food trucks. Do you alternate every week or every 2 weeks?
Every week, with the ordinance that the borough put in place for us, we can't have the same food truck more than 3 days in a row, or we can't have, the same food truck more than 3 days in a row, or more than 15 days in a month, which is fine because there's enough food trucks out there. Granted, in the wintertime, it gets a little slim trying to find the ones that are still running in the winter. But we've got a couple good ones, a couple solid ones, a couple regular ones that, we book them out, or I should say my wife books them out anywhere from 3 to 6 months out, just to know to lock those dates in to get them there.
But how cool is that? Where I can come try new beers that you have on tap, and then also, new food.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep.
We have some food trucks that come outside of Axelrod every now and then. And they've all been great.
Yeah. The majority of them, man, I'd say 98% of them are awesome. Like they're just people doing what I'm doing. They're just trying to run a business,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Those talk about us guys, though, I don't know about them. The verdict is still out about those guys. I don't know. Those guys.
They're one of our good trucks.
Get him out of there.
Brian's gonna watch this. He's gonna be like, I watched that podcast. That's all he won't.
I told you so when we were brewing that day. I told you I was gonna bust his balls because we were talking about doing T-shirts, and he went somewhere else. And I said I was either gonna make a best friend that day or an enemy. I don't know about that. I don't know how that went.
He's pretty easy-going, man. No, I'm sure he got it.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so I don't know about those guys.
They're one of the good ones I talked about. They're one of them. Yeah. They were actually one of the first food trucks we had in. Actually, funny story about Brian. So I was out in Washington, and I was the second brewery I was working at. I was driving up there to work, and I called. I won't name names, but I called almost every brewery in the area, all the way from Tunkhannock out to Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and I just asking questions like, simple like stuff that I was where like, what's the regulations on water? Like, how do you guys do your wastewater? Because one of the things that the last brewery I worked at was we had to pump all our water into a tank and we had to check the pH on it. And if the pH was off, it was out of this certain range, we had to adjust the pH of that wastewater before we could flush it into the sewer. And little things like that are like, where are you getting your chemicals from? Like, where are you guys sourcing from? Are you using, Country Malt Group? Are you using BSG? Like, what's, just asking questions here and there. And I called SBC, and Brian was working up there at the time. He was the manager up there. And I was like, hey, can I talk to like one of the brewers or the managers or somebody? I was like, I'm thinking of moving home and opening a brewery. And Brian was the guy I got to talk to. Didn't know it at the time because he didn't have the food truck or anything. And, he was awesome. I talked to him for probably 40 minutes on the phone, told me everything he knew, really smart guy. He's coming from Colorado. And the one thing he said, he's like, hey, man, he's like, just keep in mind, he's like, this area, he's like, we're anywhere from 5 to 10 years behind where you're at out on the West Coast, beer wise, like brewery wise. I was like, okay, something to keep in mind. Like, okay. We ended up moving back, and I don't even remember. Somebody was like, oh, you should hit up my buddy Brian's got a taco truck. And I was like, So I talked to him, and I was like, God, your voice sounds really familiar. And the first time he came in, I was like, you used to work at SBC? And he was like, I did. And I was like, dude, I talked to you like a year and a half ago on the phone when I was still in Washington. And we just kind of hit it off from there. And him and Don have been great coming down with their taco truck, regardless of where they get their t-shirts from. Just you guys.
Unbelievable, Brian. All those quotes I gave you, all the time I spent, all for nothing.
All for nothing.
Just laugh at my face.
And they had the nerve to wear those shirts that day you were there too.
Yeah, when they were working. How dare them? Jesus. He was funny because I was like, that print. I said, this print's no good. He looks at me, looks at the guy behind him. He goes, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I said, I'm just kidding. They look great. I'm kidding. But you also, you're near Bernie's Pizza.
Oh yeah.
I mean, talk about heritage. Talk about, being a piece of the back mountain. I mean,
well, and the owner of Bernie's, Jill, we actually graduated with her. She's a Lehman alum.
okay.
So when we came back, she was actually the one that directed me to the company that we ended up getting our business loan from, because she'd used them in the past, and that's how I actually got linked up with them. They've been nothing but great. Like, if we have a food truck fall through, we'll go down there and we buy bulk par baked pizzas. So we'll have like a Bernie's pizza night or whatever. We're looking at trying to get, she also does handmade soaps and everything. We're looking at trying to get some of those into the brewery. Bernie's has just been, Bernie's is kind of like, I don't know what you would call it. It's just been like a symbiotic relationship with them. Like, she comes in, we give her good beer, we go down there, we get good pizza. Like, you can't beat it. And then right down the road is Three Guys as well, which the owner of Three Guys we graduated with. And they were the first place that I put my beer on. Joe came down. Joe and I worked at Three Guys through high school with Joe when his old man still owned it. And we did our senior project at Three Guys. And Joe came down and had some of my beer. And he's like, well, put this on tap. And I said, okay, what do you want? And Joe's had my beer on tap now for pretty much the whole summer, right up through fall. And he's going to keep it on. We're going to be swapping him out. Whatever he wants, I'll make it. We're doing a blueberry beer right now because Joe wanted a blueberry beer, as did a bunch of customers, as much as I don't enjoy brewing them, but we'll make them because people like to drink them. So
Sure. Well, the common theme too is, from what I gather and what I hear, is community. The back mountain is very community driven. You mentioned the rock cut before, and I feel like there's once you make it through the rock cut, you're kind of like, if you're heading home from work and you make it through there, like, you're home for the night. Like, you go to Three Guys for takeout, or you go to Bernie's for takeout, you stop at Back Mountain Brewing for a beer or whatever it may be. And I think that kind of gets to how you and I hooked up for what we're doing. and that is brewing a porter. And like I said earlier, the proceeds of that are going to go back to our Lake Lehman High School junior and senior high music program. We got a lot of coverage in the paper. The Citizen's Voice was kind enough to put us on the front cover, or front page rather. Pretty neat. That may have been my first time on the front page in my time in media. So that was pretty cool.
Above the fold.
Above the fold. You learned something new that day. But Times Leader, shout out to them. They did a nice coverage. We're going to go on PA Live. When this podcast airs, I believe that this is my plan is to put this out on October 12th, and then Pop Goes Porter will be available on October 13th exclusively at Back Mountain Brewing Company. And I just can't thank you enough for entertaining the idea. I had this idea for, I forget how long it was. I feel like it may have been like last summer. I want to say it had to have been last summer, but it was like right before fall. And I always felt like a porter was more of a fall beer. That's right?
I mean, darker beer. I mean, people generally tend to go towards the darker beers and the colder ones.
And I wanted to do a porter because I'm selfish, and I wanted to call it Pop Goes Porter. And I just I remember I was actually talking to somebody else who I won't name, and I was talking to him because he had a connection with another brewery. I kind of brought up the idea, and he's like, dude, like maybe pump the brakes a little bit. Like, do you even have what do you have to offer the brewery in return for them even entertaining your idea? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And he kind of took the wind out of my sails. So whatever it may be. So I sat on it, and then I don't even know how, a year later I wanted to do it. And then you came in, and we had been working together at Axelrad, and you were, getting shirts done and hats done and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I think I presented it in a way I was like, hey, dude, I have this idea, and you can tell me if I'm stupid or crazy.
No, I think that's exactly how it went, honestly.
I get it. I'm not an idiot. I'm not oblivious. I'm not whatever. But I can't tell you how much it means to me that you would even entertain the idea, and then further than that, just making it a reality. It's wild.
Well, that's honestly, man, that's what the best times I've ever had, through this whole brewing thing, have always been working with other people and doing collaborations. It's one thing to come in and brew the same hazy over and over again, because that's what everybody wants to drink. You know what I mean? It's nice when you can do something different and kind of step out of that. To me, working with anybody, it doesn't have to be another brewery. Granted, I love collabing. We did the collab with Breaker and Five Mountains. That was a blast. I had a blast doing that. It was so much fun, and I missed that. I kind of missed that from Washington. So when you brought it up to me, I was like, yeah, because it's still a collaboration. You don't have to be a brewer to collab on it. And it's why? It's not taking, it's not hurting me any. If anything, it's helping us. So I don't know why. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get mean. I don't know why somebody would say, what are you offering to the brewery? I don't need anything. I don't need you to offer me anything. You're not getting anything from this. The school's getting everything from this. You know what I mean? It's a great idea. I don't know why. Yeah, and I understand his point also. It's obviously I would never want to get anything in return that I wasn't also putting out. But I knew that it wasn't just a way for me to brew a beer. It was a way that when I started this podcast, I wanted it not to just be a podcast, but also just be this platform for good, where it's, promoting musicians and talking about music, but also promoting our local businesses. And I think that, this collaboration is doing all of that. It's, we're talking about, your business. You also brought in, I didn't want to do just a regular porter. I want it to be something creative. And you mentioned coconut, and I'm like, I fucking hate coconut, man. Love coconut.
I said, what about a coffee porter? And you're like, yeah, we can do that. And I have a coffee guy. So you brought Matt into the fold from Bean Nick, who's also a Back Mountain based coffee company. So like for me, this whole thing was like just great. It was a way to showcase you and what you guys do. You brought Matt into the fold where it could showcase his product, and ultimately, the the greatest thing of all is giving back to our high school, the music program, because as we all know, like those programs year after year continue to be cut. I mean, your daughter is in Lake Lehman School District. She's in the arts programs. I mean, you guys witnessed it firsthand.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm pumped. Like, I mean, it's obnoxious to have my name on it.
No, it looks good. The labels look good.
I showed you the labels today. They have my stupid face on it, which is just wild. The whole thing. Like, I hate all of it. Like, I hate having my name on this podcast. I hate having my name on the beer. But like the alliteration factor, Pop Goes Porter, like. And like I said, when I started this, people smarter than me were like, dude, you have to have your name on it because people know who you are.
Yeah.
And I'll forever be grateful for the opportunities that I've been afforded throughout my career. And this is just a great opportunity for me to use my platform and use my voice and use everything I've built over the past 18 whatever years it's been to continue doing good things. And I started this podcast off by raising money for the local music scene. I think we raised almost $10,000, for musicians when the pandemic hit, which is, I think is something that, when you talk about doing benefits, right? You always think about, well, who can we get to play it? Like what band's going to draw people in, and have people come out and spend $10 to walk in the door and for the donation. And we never came back to the bands. Like, not that they ever wanted anything. They never asked for anything. They were happy to donate their time, but like, it was a time where they needed us for once.
Oh, yeah.
And, there was they couldn't play shows, they couldn't perform. So I think it was the first time in at least the history of our area that we were able to give back to them. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud to be able to, team up with you and Matt and do this beer collaboration, not only because I like beer. I didn't get this dad bod by just being a dad.
Oh, exactly.
A few beers were had. But so thank you. I mean, I'm excited.
Well, thank you, man. And Charity and I are both super stoked. Like, we think this is going to be a great thing, and we're happy. We don't care that your name's on the label. I think it's a great thing. I think it's cool. I really do.
The response.
It sounds right. It sounds right.
It sounds right.
Right.
We'll do Pop Goes Pilsner next year. You're not going to get. You open the door, bro. I'm walking in. I want to own half that brewery by the time. But no,
order. What else is there?
There's. I actually had a list the other day because they were making fun of me. Not making fun. They were like, "Oh, dude, you could do this next." No, but yeah. So the beer's gonna be available. Like I said, when this airs, it'll be tomorrow, October 13th. What time do you open on Thursday the 13th?
3 o'clock.
So I mean, we've based on the buzz we've gotten around the two articles in the Citizen's Voice and Times Leader, this should be a success.
Oh, I would think so. I would honestly, like, with just the people coming in, can you save me a 4-pack? And, I won't be around. Like, when's it coming out? I thought it was out now. And we get a lot. We've had a lot of customers coming in already asking for it. And I'm like, 13th, like, it'll be out 13th. Like,
I have my friends from Colorado. Hey, can you ship me a 4-pack? I'm like, I don't know the legalities of that.
No, you can just send it UPS. Don't send it USPS. Don't take my word for it, but I'm like 90% sure that that's the way to go.
We'll see. I don't feel like having to front the money for that bozo. No, I'm kidding, but I think it's gonna be awesome. And we talked about community, and like I feel like a brewery. And I mentioned this in the interview with the Citizen's Voice. Like, I think breweries have the opportunity to be like cornerstones of a community and just like give back in ways like we're doing to the Lake Lehman music program, but it's such a, you're not just brewing beer. I mean, like you're offering a place for people to meet and talk and get to know each other. I mean, you're doing yoga from what I've seen online. You're doing trivia nights. You're giving opportunities to food trucks. That it's. I mean, what you have is a great thing. And I'm proud of you, and I can't thank you enough for even entertaining my idea.
Oh, thanks, man. It was like you said, that's what Charity and I are. That's what we're going for. Like, I mean, it sucks sometimes being there, 6 days a week, and some days, I'm running the taps, and I'm just like, I don't want to be here. But at the same time, it's cool to see, just the year that we've been here, the reception it's got, and I wore my I love cream ale shirts, but we also have the drink local shirts, and that's the one thing we want to push is like, you don't have to drive, up to Vermont to get a hazy IPA. Like, I got one of those. Come on in,
That's very good.
Thank you.
I've had
Come
a
on in
couple.
to see my wife because she's always smiling and she's always
She
happy.
is.
I know. I
How
don't
does
know.
she do that? How does she do that? Charity.
She's a great person.
How do you do it? Did you find a picture yet?
Oh,
Save the day.
here we go.
Oh,
Oh my God, show that picture.
97.
That's 97.
Did you at one point have dreads?
No, I did. I had no, at one point in high school I had really long hair.
You had frosted.
I didn't have frosted tips stuff. I had really long hair. It was long and curly. It was curly, but I could like pull it down to like
Maybe
here.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what I had. I had super long. Yeah.
All right,
Well,
show the other picture. Come on. I only have 5 listeners. Don't worry about it.
that was in like Germany. Wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm not showing that picture. No, you have more than 5 lists. I'm not showing that picture.
All right, when I hit stop, show it to me.
I will.
Okay.
You hit stop.
All right. Well, it's such a it's a great thing what you're doing and the business you have in the back mountain, and it's to take a risk, to take the gamble and say, you know what, we're doing this, is awesome. I mean, it's a great spot. I mean, I'm happy that it's a brewery and not some, like, I don't know, name any other business.
Bar.
No, I mean, the bar was cool. The bar was cool. Even like, I mean, visually, it's very appealing to me. So I'm happy that it's been able to like be an entertainment venue. But a brewery is even better. I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for breweries because I love beer. I love going to breweries. It was awesome to, not just putting my name on this beer. I actually kind of helped you brew it that day.
No, you're a big help, man.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you were the one weighing out all the materials, and I mean, I just dumped a bag of grains in the.
Yeah, but you cleaned the mash tun out. Remember that?
I did clean the mash tun out.
That was a big deal.
I'm excited for that video to come back from Ionic Development. That's gonna be cool.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
It's
Yeah.
gonna actually prove that I was working that day, not just hanging out drinking beer.
That was an interesting. Everywhere I went back to like grab some hops out of the cooler, and I turn around and there's a camera right there, and I'm like, oh, don't come back in this room. Like, this is this is not the nice area of the brewery.
Yeah, this is not the fun area, but well, I'll let you go in a minute. What's next for Backbound Brewing Company? Like, what do you? I mean, we're in October of 2022. What's your vision for? I won't even ask for like 5 years. Like, what's next year look like? What do you hope to accomplish?
I mean, the end goal is, and honestly, like, if you're not constantly like trying to get better, trying to get bigger, trying to, keep moving forward, then what's the point? And I think it's a blessing and a curse with me. Like, I'm constantly, I'm always focused on what's next. Like, it's hard for me to get complacent. We're honestly, like, right now we're already to the point, with a 1 barrel system, we're outgrowing it. Like we outgrew it in the first 6 months we were open. But it really comes down to finances. It comes down to, just opportunities presenting themselves. But we are going to expand. We've been talking for months and months and months. As much as we love our food trucks, I think it's great. But when we do expand, we're obviously it's the next step. The next thing is to, as much as I hate to say it, put in a kitchen.
I have an idea.
But it won't be. It's not going to be a restaurant. We'll never be a restaurant. I never want to be a restaurant. I never want people to focus more on us because of our food than they do about our beer. Right. So when it does happen, it'll be like you said, a simple. You focus on those 1, 2, 3 things you're good at, and that's all you make. And if people don't want that, then honestly, at this point, and it sounds crappy to say, like I don't care. Like I want the people that want to come in and drink my beer. If you want X, Y, and Z from the menu, even better. But I want the people that are interested in the beer. I want the people that are going to come in, taste the beer, and sit and talk to me about it, and tell me what they like or don't like or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know when it's going to be. 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever. But that's always, we got to keep moving forward. Like that's always the goal. There's always something, further down the road. So we'll get there eventually, but we're doing good and we're on track. So
good.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
I have an idea.
Yes.
I won't say it on record.
You gonna let me know?
I'll tell you after you show me the picture.
Okay.
When we're done here, I have an idea. I have another business venture that I wanted to explore.
Okay.
Maybe we can partner with that too.
Okay.
So that's all I'll say about that. So if one day it comes out where I say, Clay, that motherfucker stole my idea, this is the day it happened.
Dude, I'm all about stealing. I'm telling you, man. Like I'm not doing anything different. I just took ideas from 100 different places I've been.
Don't tell me you're gonna steal my idea.
But I'm not saying I'm gonna steal your idea.
It's gold. I already bought the website domain.
Okay, perfect.
It's already done.
Popco's Cupcakes, or what are we doing?
No, it's better than that. Wait till you hear it.
Even better.
Wait till you hear it. It doesn't have my name in it. No.
I got. Well, when you hit stop, I got one too. I'm gonna run past you. So.
All right. Well, dude, I'm beyond excited about Popco's Porter releasing tomorrow, October 13th, at Back Mountain Brewing Company. It's a coffee infused porter with coffee sourced from Beatnik Coffee Company. Yeah, I mean, you're confident we're going to sell out. I mean, I think you're right. Maybe we didn't brew enough, but it's cool that it's going to be limited edition. The labels look cool, like you said. It's weird that my face is on it, my name's on it, but it's cool. I can't thank you enough. I just I never thought that I would have a beer. And in fact, a guy who lives in the Back Mountain, he texted me. He's like, "Dude, I will be there at 3:00 on Thursday." I'm like, "Well, I will not be there that early. I will not be there that early." He's like, "I never had a beer with a guy whose name was on it." I said, "I honestly haven't either." But
well, we'll talk about that off camera too.
All right. Well, best of luck with everything you do at Back Mountain Brewing Company. Where can people find you on the social medias?
Facebook, Instagram. We have a Twitter. I don't use it because
everyone says that.
Yeah. So just search Back Mountain Brew on Instagram or Facebook, and then www.backmountainbrew.com is our website. And on the website, you can go on there and there's a little link, and you can click tap list or on tap or whatever it says, and you can see real time what we have on tap before you show up at the brewery.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you again. Thank you for your service. Happy to have you home in NEPA, brewing beer, making great beer. I'm excited to try the porter because I had not tried it yet. What if it sucks?
Well, this thing's airing before, but we're whenever. So anyway, the coffee's going in tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'll let you know. I'll give you an update 2 days from now.
Okay. Yeah. What if it sucks?
No, it's gonna be fine because the base is good. I know Mr. Labar makes amazing coffee, so all it is I mean, unless I mess something up putting it in there, but it'll be fine.
Pressure's on, buddy. Pressure's on.
I know. Now I'm nervous, man. Now I'm like, I don't know.
You better wake up early.
We crossed that point of no return where, like, if something gets messed up, I don't have time to make it again. So.
It's in print. I mean, the newspapers.
Oh no, I know.
We're going
I'll figure something out. I'll pull the stout out of the back and just like dump some cold brew in it and be like, here you go, Popco's Porter.
We're going on PA Live.
It'll be fine. It'll be good, man.
I trust you. I trust you. So thank you again for everything, and I'm looking forward. We're going to be canning the beer this weekend, so that's cool.
Yep.
So it'll be before this airs. So anyone watching or listening to this, is the beer will already have been canned at that point. But looking forward to that too.
It'll be fun. It'll be a fun day.
Sweet.
I got the Seamer today. I think I told you from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out 5 Mountain. What's cool though is like, so, I mean, what is it? There's 5 breweries in Luzerne County ish, right?
Yeah, I got to look at. I think it's 7. Cunningham's down there. I haven't been down there yet. Cunningham's down like the south end. I haven't even been down there. I didn't know they were there until I saw the Brewers Trail.
Yeah. But you guys all get along. You guys have done collaborations. It's cool because. So when I got into this whole scene, the bar scene and things like that, it was very cutthroat. Like every bar, like if a bar down the street from the other bar, like they wanted to have the biggest crowd. They wanted to take all the business from the bar next door. It's far different these days. Even now, bars understand that if you bring the people to that area, the chances of people going to this bar and maybe the one next door or whatever it might be is higher and better for everybody. And I think as brewers, you guys understand that, again, it's community. It's everyone's making different beers. It's not the same product. It's a good thing for everybody.
There's always competition, but it's friendly. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always going to be that competition, but it's not like you said, it's not cutthroat.
Right.
Most breweries, like if I need anything, Breaker, for example, I forgot to order 2 bags of grain on my last grain order. Shipping's stupid expensive. I text today. I was like, hey, are you guys putting in a grain order? I need 2 bags. He was like, yeah, we're putting one in. I'll let you know when it ships. What do you need? Like, just like that. He's throwing 2 bags of grain on there. Like, Brent's helped me out. I've helped Brent out down at 5 Mountains. Like, it's just, and that's the way it should be. And that's what I always loved about, the brewing community when I started to experience it out west. And I was nervous moving back home, but I found that here, and it's neat to see that. I love the camaraderie. I love the collaborations. I love the friendly competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what it's really all about.
For sure. Well, again, thank you, and I'm looking forward to great things from Back Mountain Brewing Company.
Well, thank you, John, and me and Charity both appreciate the opportunity to do this for sure.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. All right, we'll see you.